got some interesting thoughts on Tarzan's Treehouse, an update on the transformation of the Paradise Pier Hotel, more Christmas in the parks, plus the latest on Downtown Disney, and more, all coming up next on Fresh Baked. Hi guys, David here with Fresh Baked with some updates for you on construction projects going on around the Disneyland Resort, and we're going to start at Tarzan's Treehouse. The wind was up earlier this week, and when the wind is up, the scrims come down, giving us a chance at a possible better look at what's happening in there. On Monday, we tried our best to see, literally anything. I tried from far away and up close, from as many angles as possible. But it was early evening, around 5 p.m., and crews had already left for the day. But even though the scrims were down, the treehouse was still mostly in shadow. I couldn't really discern much at all. The only thing that I could make out was the same rotunda-shaped area we observed a couple months ago, the room where Jane is drawing Tarzan. It's all still there, but the exterior is stripped. I was in the park again on Tuesday, shooting a new video about Jeannie. Please do be sure to watch that one, by the way. Jeannie doesn't want me to go. Jeannie doesn't want me to go on the Haunted Mansion. It was one of the more comical experiences that I've had in the park in a while, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, on Tuesday, I was in the park in the morning rather than the evening, and that's when things got a little bit more interesting. Starting with these guys having a conversation at the very top of the treehouse. And that's interesting because they must have felt, obviously, it important to have whatever conversation they were having from this position in the treehouse, at the top of the treehouse. They could have had that anywhere, right? But they did it there. And by the way, that's a place that previously no guest could get to. We never really got that high. At least I think so. We got close, but not that high. So you have to assume they were there to what? To see the view, right? Will a guest be up that high? What are they trying to see? What are they trying to imagine? Is my guess. Like, what is it what story are they hoping to tell by sending guests to that part of the tree? If it's not to watch a show, then there must be some other story that they're trying to tell up there. It's interesting to think about. So conversation is over, and back down they went. There has to be a reason for them to be up there. A bit later, we could see crew working all over the place. It's the most activity that we've seen at Tarzan's Treehouse ever, really. Even when it was open, you never saw crew up there, but certainly since it's been closed for the past year, I've never seen this many yellow vests in the tree at the same time. Tarzan's Treehouse is on. They're definitely up to something. So now, of course, the question is, what? And I've got some thoughts on that. I figure there are three possibilities: Encanto, SEA, and the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. Encanto seems to be the most popular choice among those guessing, and it's logical, based on Disney's comments in the past that they were actively trying to get more Encanto in the park. The only problem I have with Encanto is that I feel like it needs a budget. It needs a budget because the tree needs color. It needs action. It needs to pop in order for it to speak to how it's envisioned on film in the movie. Antonio's tree in the film it's amazing. It's alive. And I don't think Disney can do that justice on a small budget, which I'm assuming is going to be the case. I'm assuming that we've got a small budget for this treehouse. SEA was the most recent rumor, as reported by WDW News Today, but there hasn't been any more momentum behind that other than its tie-in to the new shows coming to Disney Plus. And now, actually, I believe they're also making a feature film, a series, and a film related to SEA, which, by the way, for those uninitiated, it's sort of a small little backstory thing that they're doing throughout the parks. The Society of Explorers and Adventurers. Jungle Cruise has an SEA tie-in. Big Thunder has an SEA tie-in. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're headed for Swiss Family Robinson. Mostly because we haven't seen them do anything that resembles a major change in theme And because it already was the Swiss Family Treehouse, what could be easier, more cost effective when we're talking about budget than to simply put it back? I'd even be willing to wager that they still have most, if not all, of the practical effects from the old attraction. They could just reinstall it, I believe. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the clues that we can gather from what they're doing right now in the treehouse. If we look a little closer at what we can see in the treehouse, it looks pretty much like it did before. Focusing mainly on that previously mentioned rotunda scene, you can see that they have stripped the exterior, but they haven't touched the thatched roofing. That's still there. And I do think that if they were going to remove the thatched roofing, it would be gone already. That's probably the first thing they take out is the thatched roofing if it were going to go. So I'm positive it's staying. And that, by the way, that gives us a baseline for any future theming. The whatever they set up for this tree in the future, it's going to have the kind of theming that requires a thatched roof on that rotunda. I think it's safe to say that the bamboo is staying as well for the same reasons. Now, does Antonia's tree have these features? I suppose they could. It's hard to tell from the lone piece of art that we have on this and a little bit of the movie. He has sort of a sleeping area there, which I suppose you could. That does look like it's sort of treehouse style theming, so it's certainly possible. But here's what I know: I'm positive the Swiss Family Treehouse would use the bamboo and thatched roofs. I'm positive of that. And so for these very boring reasons, mainly that they don't seem to be doing a whole lot to the tree, I'm predicting Swiss Family because that's the easiest thing to do. Now, it wouldn't surprise me to see Encanto, but I think I would be disappointed, actually, if they were. If only because there's a greater chance that it might suck. If they tried to do Encanto but they went cheap, it would fall flat, in my opinion. But they can do Swiss Family. They can make Swiss Family good while also being inexpensive. Oh, and what about the SEA rumor? I'm not sure SEA as a property is big enough or well known enough to support an entire attraction. But the rumor can still be true. All you have to do is make Father Robinson SEA. The backstory for Swiss Family Robinson even supports this a little. As they were on their way, in the film, they were on their way to New Guinea to start a new life. Now, in that original story, they were doing so to escape the Napoleonic Wars in the early 1800s. But I could easily imagine them altering the story a bit to make it more SEA worthy. And if you're asking, can they just do that? Can they just make Father Robinson an SEA member? You bet they can. If they can make Jock Lindsay from Raiders of the Lost Ark SEA, then yeah, they can make Father Robinson SEA too. So that's my prediction. Overall, it's a Swiss Family tree with some nods to SEA, and we'll even throw in a new twist on the story, the Swiss Family story that they're doing for the upcoming Disney Plus show. I predict that they might be retelling that story a little bit too. Instead of them, for example, escaping the Napoleonic Wars, he could be literally exploring. He wants to go check out New Guinea and see what's there as an adventure, taking his family with him. But whatever they do, the best news out of all of this is that they're now starting to really work on it. Finally. Maybe we'll even get a view. That would be cool. All right, we stopped by the Paradise Pier Hotel to see how things were progressing. We went inside and found the lobby situation to be pretty much just as we left it last time. The lobby proper is still walled up. I didn't go into the makeshift new lobby in Hall D, but it was also just like it was last time. The exteriors are mostly as they were as well. The downtown Disney side of the building still has the same yellowish paint, in the shadow of the old sign, the old Paradise Pier Hotel sign. This here appears to be a test area as only this small section of the building has progressed or even appears finished for that matter. Our last trip showed a white or very light blue trim around the windows and the beginnings of another color on that dividing pillar between the windows. Today, that pillar is a finished, very dark blue. And it would appear that this is, by the way, this is a finished product, the finished look, because the scaffolding is gone. So now they need only, paint the rest of the building. But so far, it's just that one little corner. Looks though like they have begun working on the opposite side, the Simba parking lot side. That's getting its base coat. Meanwhile, there's a little bit more work going on the first floor windows and trim. And of course, the front entrance is still closed to all traffic. No foot traffic, no cars. Guests still enter from the rear entrance. This project will be ongoing for a while, so we'll keep checking in from time to time to see if there's any signs of, Woody or Buzz or any of the other Pixar characters. While we were there, I stopped by the Mystery Building in the Disneyland Hotel parking lot. Still looks like it did before. I'm still confused as to what it could be. One new contender, though, which is why I'm bringing it up, is that it's a sort of a cut and paste situation where they will pick this building up whole and drop it, paste it into downtown Disney, where it will wind up being maybe, I don't know, an office or a security outpost. Now, I'm a little skeptical of this, though, if only because of the weird angular construction. It's very, stylistic, which seems completely unnecessary for the more pedestrian needs of an office or a security outpost. So, someday we're going to find out. Someday we will find out. Stay tuned to Fresh Baked, obviously. Here's the latest from the new DVC tower at the Disneyland Hotel. It's hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure those are windows behind that scrim. So it appears the frame is more or less finished. Now we're beginning to get into making it look like, a proper hotel. One thing I observed on this visit is that this is the first time we've really been able to get an idea of the relationship between this new tower, this new DVC tower, and the building next door to its right as we view it from here, where Goofy's kitchen is. And I have to say, I think it really finishes the sightlines well. I was surprised that I observed this or noticed this. I don't normally feel a certain way about how buildings are aligned, but I like how the DVC tower sort of casts a shadow over the Goofy's kitchen building. It closes off the view from the ground, making it feel more like a completed resort. You can get another idea of that from this long view. There used to be open space where that building is now. There was a building there, but it wasn't very tall. It was low. And the DVC tower changes how we perceive, all of that area, perceive Goofy's kitchen, that building. I'm not sure if this was intentional, but I like it just the same. I'm just putting that out there. The area, I think this is really going to look great when it's done. Okay, you guys ready for Christmas? We got a small taste last week with the new decorations at Grizzly Peak. Disney has not slowed down. There are lots more in the park this week, including at Disneyland, including actual Christmas lights that are on at night in New Orleans Square. Those are the Christmas lights in New Orleans Square. I mean, they look pretty. I love it. I'm okay with it. We've also got icicles at Sleeping Beauty Castle. Over at DCA, they're busy. They've got garland up at Cars Land. Some fun-looking garland at the Lucky Fortune Cookery. Same at Pacific Wharf Cafe. These include bread bowls. That's their ornament, bread bowl ornaments. They've also strung in some lights up, across between Lucky Fortune and Pacific Wharf Cafe. Not sure if these are lit at night, though. More garland at Cocina Cucamonga. And even Ariel's Undersea Adventures getting into the action. So that's right out there, visible in the main corridor. So they're not slowing down or waiting at all. And I am almost certain that they have started earlier than in the past. And I'm almost certain it's because they're trying to get it done with fewer casts, just like they did for Halloween. They're trying to do it with fewer casts, which takes longer, which means they have to start sooner. By the way, right next door to Ariel's Undersea Adventure, they have finally reopened Embarcadero Gifts. It had yet to reopen post-COVID. Today, it's very similar to the kind of merch you might find at Elias & Company on Buena Vista Street. Let's get on the monorail to check in on the downtown Disney lot. Hard to see from our angle just what's happening, but there is definitely activity. Conduit lying about for some purpose, and there's, I don't know, it looks like there's something installed there in what appears to be a newly dug up area around the same site as the previous, the giant hole in the ground. So I feel like we're going to be seeing some progress here weekly, I believe. Finally, we'll stop in downtown Disney to look in on Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen. Previously, they had stripped the second level dining area, the roof, that is the awning or whatever that was there before, and it's now covered in scrim. Not sure for what specific purpose, but I can't wait to see what they wind up doing here for real. I can't wait to see if it looks better in person than it is in the concept art. And something that I've been waiting for, and I'm still waiting for, the middle section inside the restaurant. That's still the same old red. Now I feel like maybe they're waiting to do this because they would have to close the whole restaurant in order to paint this area, because that's where all the guests go through there, and you can't be painting while serving guests. So I feel like they're going to wait to do that last when they close the restaurant. There you go, guys. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at FreshBakedDisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at FreshBakedDisney. And if you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh baked.